Welcome back to the Snowpoint Cast. Today we're going to be talking about a deck from 2009 called Kingdra. Kingdra got second at the UK National Championships in 2009. A player named Sammy Sekoum got second with it. It's actually kind of funny. The same player got second at Worlds that year with Flygon. But the list that we're going to be looking at is kind of based off of his list. I took his list and then modified it a little bit because I think there are some changes that are pretty vital for today's meta. And we'll go over those changes when we get to them in the list. But let's get right into it. So starting off with 4 Horsey. Horsey's got 50 HP, a single retreat, and a weakness to lightning. First attack's called Smokescreen, so for a colorless, if the defending Pokemon tries to attack during your opponent's next turn, they flip a coin. If tails, that attack does nothing. So definitely an okay stall attack if you have to stall a turn. And then a reverse thrust is actually a pretty good option as well. So for 1 water, it does 10, and then you switch Horsey with one of your bench Pokemon, so you reserve your energy so it doesn't get knocked out, and then you also reserve your Horsey so that your Kingdra can hopefully be found next turn if you missed it the turn 1. So you play 3 Seadra as well. A little bit of a thicker line because you play Broken Time Space, so being able to just drop all of your evolutions down is almost better than a rare candy in a lot of ways. So 80 HP, a single retreat, and a weakness to lightning. Aqua Pump is the first attack. Definitely a really solid attack. So it does 30, and then you could discard up to 2 water energy from your hand. If you do, this attack does 30 damage plus 10 for each water you discarded. So up to 50 for 1. I mean, that's definitely some decent power for a single energy, and it fits with the theme of the deck. Kingdra has a free attack that shuffles waters back, so this kind of fits with that as well. And Waterfall, I mean, for 3 you do 50. Not often are you going to be getting 3 attaches on a Seadra. It really sucks when you have to do that. It's probably like you have a Seadra with nothing else, because honestly, this deck really thrives off single energy attachments. The Kingdra attacks for 1 or 0. So dedicating 3 to a Seadra, I mean, and if you're in a really rough spot, maybe, but probably not. Okay, so you play 4 Kingdra as well. So Kingdra's really, really good. 130 HP, single retreat, and a weakness to lightning. Aqua Stream is the first attack, so search your discard pile for as many water energy cards as you like, show them to your opponent, and then this attack does 10 damage for each water energy card that you chose. Put those cards in your deck and then shuffle your deck. So it's really nice because Dragon Pump and Aqua Stream are they have a lot of synergy with one another. So Dragon Pump for 1 water does 40, and then you can discard up to 2 cards, or you can discard two cards from your hand. If you do, this attack does 40 damage plus 20 damage, and you do 20 snipe to a bench Pokemon. So I mean, for 1, being able to do 60 and 20 snipe, that's 80 total damage for a single energy. Definitely some solid value. And then Aqua Stream is able to get those waters back. So I mean, if you're Dragon Pumping waters away, you get to Claydol, see more cards, and then hopefully discard more waters. And then later in the game, you just are able to Aqua Stream and Dragon Pump in sequential turns. So you like Dragon Pump twice, discard waters, or a couple more turns in a row, and then all of a sudden your Aqua Stream's hitting for like 80 for 0. So even if you miss an attach, you're still attacking for a fair amount of damage. So definitely a really cool card for sure. Definitely a solid Kingdra. And then this is the part of the list that I changed a little bit. So I play a 101 Dusknoir, and I actually think it's really vital for a lot of the deck's matchups now. So I think you should play this Duskull. So this is the Duskull from Stormfront. It's got 3 attacks. The first one is really good. It's the big reason you play it. So for free, you put up to 3 damage counters on Duskull, then put that many damage counters on the defending Pokemon. So this has got a couple uses. The first one is being able to Dontk. It's a really solid option because you can attach to the active, let's say you have like a Roseanne. You can attach to the active with the energy, retreat to the Duskull, and if your opponent has like a Magikarp and they passed, you just win the game because you get to Counting Song on their Magikarp and then they die. There's a couple other situations where this is useful. If your opponent starts an unknown Q and passes, you're also able to knock that out with Counting Song. But yeah, just honestly being able to one-shot a Magikarp and then take the game before you even have to play it against Gyarados, because that can be one of your tougher matchups. You have to hit it for 60 and then hit it for 60 again with a Crobat, and then if they hit a Super Scoop Up heads, it can just get dicey. But yeah, Counting Song is really, really solid against Gyarados and unknown Q for sure. And that's the reason you play this Duskull. But then you play the Dusknoir, and that's the reason you play the Duskull. So it's got 120 HP, 3 retreat, a resistance to colorless, and then a weakness to dark. So Dark Bomb is the reason you play this card. Once during your turn before you attack, if your opponent has 4 more bench Pokemon, you may choose one of those Pokemon and shuffle it with all cards attached into your opponent's deck. So really, really good disruption, especially against like other stage 2 decks. The main reason this is in here is because of Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen kind of kills this deck because being able to heal off 20 in between turns means that every time you Dragon Pump for like 60-20, you're really only Dragon Pumping for 40, and that's just like really awful. So you have to have a way to get that Nidoqueen out of there, because I think Nidoqueen is one of the things that can just kill this deck outright. But Dark Palm is really nice because if you ever find a Warp Point and your opponent just has a Nidoqueen active, or even if it's on their bench, you can just hit the Dusknoir and then Dark Palm their Nidoqueen and not have to worry about that healing that's so vital to taking down your deck. Okay, and then you do play a pretty thick Claydol line because you just play a lot of evolutions in this deck, and it's important to draw. This deck really excels off being able to hit hard turn 1. Being able to go 60-20 turn 1 is like really, it's a lot of pressure for sure. And Claydol is a big part of setting that up. So Baltoy's got 50 HP, a single retreat, and a weakness to grass. Psychic balance for 1 colorless. If you have less cards in your hand than your opponent, draw cards until you have the same number of cards as your opponent. So definitely good if you're bricking, or literally if you have Baltoy nothing and you're bricking. That's pretty much the only time Psychic balance is good. But it's better than nothing, I guess. But the reason you play this is for Claydol. So Claydol's got 80 HP, 2 retreat, and the weakness to grass still, but it's got a power called Cosmic Power. So once during your turn before you attack, you may choose up to 2 cards from your hand and put them at the bottom of your deck, and then you can draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. So such a crazy power, like just one of the most broken powers Pokemon has ever printed. And it just lets you draw so many cards, especially with broken time space. Like you can play out all the evolutions in your hand, play out the trainers in your hand, and then Cosmic Power your unplayable cards. And a lot of the times you Cosmic Power for like 4 or 5, if not 6, if you really want it. So definitely a really, really solid part of the deck. You also play 2 Crobat. So Crobat is got 80 HP, free retreat, which is super clutch, resistance to fighting, and a weakness to lightning. So Flash Bite is the reason you play it. It's a power. When you bench Crobat, you can drop damage counter somewhere on your opponent's board, so that can be really good for sprites. So Uxie and Azelf have 70 HP, so being able to go 60 with the attack and then Flash Bite for another 10 knocks it out. Like I was saying before with Gyarados, it's really important to hit your numbers. There's just some really important numbers that you have to be a little bit higher to hit if you want to hit the 2-shot, and Crobat just really helps with that. 130 is a pretty important number, and 60 plus 70 gets you there, so the Crobat is quite important. You do play 2 Uxie as well. So again, just you want to draw into the turn 1 Kingdra every time you can. So just max consistency, 3/3 Claydol and 2 Uxie. Uxie's got 70 HP, a single retreat, and a weakness to Psychic. The Poke Power is called Setup. When you bench Uxie, you can draw until you have 7 cards in your hand, which is like such a good power because you can go like first Claydol, second Claydol. You're seeing like 10 to 12 cards, and then you Uxie and you see another 5 cards. That's like a quarter of your deck, and being able to see a quarter of your deck on turn 1 is like gives you so much pressure options, and Uxie is just a really, really great card. And then Uxie has an attack that you can use as well, so being able to hit for Psychic weakness can be clutch in some matchups. So Psychic Restore for 20, 1 colorless. You may put Uxie and all cards attached to the bottom of your deck. This is kind of cool because you're able to use Uxie more than twice in the game. You can put it back and then Roseanne's for it again if that's something that you really need. And it's also really good to get around like Gengar Feigning Spell and stuff like that, but just a really solid card overall. And then lastly, in the Pokemon department, we play 1 Unown G. So Unown G is a tech card for a couple matchups. It's really important versus Flygon Lock, versus Gengar. It's pretty important as well. And honestly, that's it. Gengar Shadow Room does a lot of damage to you. If you can just keep 1 Claydol with an Unown G on it, it's usually not that big of a deal if they are Shadow Rooming all the time. But if you don't have a G, you kind of fold to a lot of power hitting decks like Gengar and Flygon Lock. Okay, so getting the trainers now, we play 4 Rare Candy. So Rare Candy is just for Pokemon consistency. Again, you want to hit that turn 2 Kingdra. The nice part of Rare Candy is it also acts as a broken time space if you need it. You can go Baltoy, Rare Candy, Claydol, and then start drawing if you need to do that. Or like I said, you can hit the Rare Candy Kingdra, Rare Candy Dusknoir. It's just a really vital part of the deck, and it helps you stay really, really fast. So you play 4 Super Scoop Up as well. So these can be used in a lot of different ways. The first of which is healing Kingdras. Like I said, you have broken time space. So if you pick up a Kingdra with a Seadra attached to it, you can often just waterfall those evolutions down on the rest of your field and then attack with a fresh healed up Kingdra. Super Scoop Up's also really cool with Claydol. You can Super Scoop Up Claydol with broken time space in play and then use it again. It's kind of a little bit of a loophole around the rules. You shouldn't be able to use it because you've already used that Claydol's power this turn, but since it went back to the hand, it's private information and your opponent doesn't know that that's the same Claydol or a different Claydol. I mean, usually they know, but I mean, there's no way of knowing for sure because that's private information, and then you get to use the Claydol again. So definitely really good if you're digging really hard and need something super bad. It's also just good, like in general, like you can get another Flash Bite off, another setup. It kind of really depends on what your board is, but Super Scoop Up is a great card in this deck. Okay, so you play 3 Warp Point as well. I think Warp Point, this is a part of Sammy Seacoom's list that I super like. Warp Point's really, really strong, especially with Dusknoir. Like, you're able to Warp Point. If your opponent has like a Flygon level X active, you can Warp Point it and then Dark Palm it back into the deck, and then that doesn't have to be something that you worry about for the next couple turns. And just being able to hit stuff on the bench for free, you can snipe it with Kingdra and then Warp Point and hopefully be able to KO it the next turn. Like, if you put 20 on a Uxie or an Azelf, you're able to kill that Uxie or Azelf the next turn if you Warp Point it, which is pretty cool. And you also play 2 luxury balls. So this kind of, it seems like it doesn't make sense because most decks only play 1. But with Kingdra's ability to discard cards, you play 2 just because it helps your turn 1 consistency. Like if you start with a luxury ball, your hand is almost always good because luxury ball can get you an Uxie or a Claydol or literally whatever you need. So you play an extra one just in case. And having that turn 1 pressure is what this deck really thrives off. So I do really like that part about this list. I probably wouldn't cut the second luxury ball, especially because later on in the game you could just discard it with Kingdra, and it's not a big deal. It's not like it's going to be a dead card in your deck for the rest of the game. You do play 1 Night Maintenance as well. So Night Maintenance, search your discard pile for up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards, shuffle them to your opponent, and then shuffle them into your deck. So just some staple Pokemon recovery. I mean, almost every Stage 2 decks in this meta play at least 1 Night Maintenance. It's pretty important, especially when you're discarding cards with Kingdra's attack and Pokemon are getting KO'd all the time. It's just kind of, it makes sense to play 1 for sure. Okay, and then we play 4 Broken Time Space because the card is literally broken. So BTS says each player may evolve a Pokemon that he or she played or evolved during that turn. So pretty much you break the evolution rules as many times as you want. So you can go like bench a Baltoy, evolve into a Claydol, bench a Horsea, evolve into Seadra, evolve into Kingdra, bench a Duskull, rare candy Dusknoir. I mean, you could do that already, but it's nice to be able to just drop down your evolutions because, like I said earlier, that means your Claydols are usually drawing you more cards that way. And it's just, again, it's really important to hit that early pressure. And if you have a turn 1 Broken Time Space, Horsey, Seadra, Kingdra, Water, like you're going to be hitting for 60-20 turn 1, and that's a lot of pressure to deal with. Okay, so getting into the supporters now. You play 4 Roseanne's Research. Really solid cards. So Roseanne's Research says, search your deck for up to 2 in any combination of basic Pokemon and basic energy cards. Show them to your opponent, then put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. This is great for finding waters to discard with Aqua Pump. Great for finding basics early. It can find your Crobat, your Uxie, Unown G, Baltoys. It's just a really staple consistency Pokemon card in this format, and it's really solid. Speaking of staple Pokemon consistency, you play 4 Bebe Search as well, another really solid Pokemon search card. So choose a card from your hand, put it at the top of your deck, and then search your deck for a Pokemon card, reveal it to your opponent, and put it in your hand. So this is great for finding your evolutions. You can find you a Dusknoir, find you a Kingdra, find you a Claydol, or any other basic that you need. Like if you just need to find a Duskull but don't have a Roseanne's, you're able to just Bebe Search for that. And just having Pokemon consistency. You play so many Pokemon that are good in this deck, so being able to find them just makes your deck that much better. Okay, so you play 2 Cynthias Feelings as well. So Cynthias Feelings says shuffle your hand to your deck and then draw 4 cards. If one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you draw 4 more cards. So shuffle draw 8 is really good, and it lets you hit those big wombo combo turns where you're able to go like, if I'm missing a Kingdra, I can go like Cynthias Feelings for 8, rare candy Kingdra, and then I'm still missing a water, and then I Claydol, and then I hit the water. Usually if you Cynthia's Feelings after getting knocked out into a Claydol, you're not whiffing what you need. If you do, that kind of sucks, but it's very infrequent because Cynthia's Feelings with Claydol and Uxie is just like such good draw. And you do plan to get out knocked out a few times with this deck. I mean, you got 130 HP on a stage 2. It's not a ton. You don't have a level X, so it's not like you can have a really like tanky stage 2 that's going to live forever. And Cynthia's Feelings is kind of your counter to that because you know you're going to get knocked out, but at least if you can hit the like turn Aqua Pump the next turn regardless of being knocked out, it doesn't really matter if you're knocked out at that point. Okay, so getting to energy cards, you play 8 Water Energy. This is mostly just for Aqua Stream. 8 just means you're finding them consistently. Honestly, you probably wouldn't need this many if you didn't have Aqua Stream, but Aqua Stream is such a good attack to be able to shuffle your waters back in for free. Means that you can like infinite your deck. You Aqua Pump all your waters away, and then you Aqua Stream them back, and then you just Claydol into them, and then do it again. And it's just the reason that the deck is like so good is you can infinite hit for lots of damage, and 8 water helps a lot with that. Okay, well, this has been Kingdra from 2009. If you have any questions about the deck, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get to them. But thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.